Welcome everybody. Welcome to our first meeting of the new year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And it's really exciting that we have our first big project of the year coming to the commission today. So let's get started. And welcome to the regular meeting of the Palm Springs Public Arts Commission, Wednesday, January 19th, 2022. So Jay, could you call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Lesniak,
Present.
Commissioner Armstrong,
Here.
Commissioner Newkirk,
Here.
Vice Chair Pritchard,
Here.
Commissioner Favreau, not attended, and Chair Merrigan.
Here.
Okay.
So thank you. So can I ask for a motion to accept the agenda?
I make a motion to accept the agenda as written.
Second.
Thank you. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that is awesome. So now we'll move on to public comments. This time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Public Arts Commission on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission, and agenda items if members of the public cannot be present later in the meeting at the time the item is heard by the commission. Additionally, members of the public may address the commission on each item listed on the posted agenda at the time each item is heard. Although the Public Arts Commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it can generally not take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. 3 minutes are assigned for each speaker. So we do have a presentation in our agenda, so that's going to be presented to us, but does anyone want to speak now in public comment?
We have a request from Mr. Dieter Crawford.
Great. So Dieter, go for it. Welcome.
Thank you guys for having me. Good evening, commissioners and staff. Just want to show my support for the Filipino American Mural Project and that project there at Demuth Park and the Demuth Community Center. The Veterans Track and Demuth Park neighborhood has been home to the Filipino community for decades. And this would be a great way to share the cultural diversity of the city with everyone with that mural. So just want to show my support for that mural.
Thank you so much, Dieter. Does anyone else want to speak in public comments?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Hi, y'all. Thanks so much. This is Alexis or Lex Ortega, resident of Palm Springs, born and raised. And I also am really anticipating the presentation that will be done about this potential mural at Demuth, and want to just express my excitement in seeing some of Adam's work, the fact that we can uplift ethnic communities here in this city, which I love, and I'm really excited to hopefully see it through, and hopefully y'all will see it through. So thanks so much for the work thus far, and giving the public an opportunity to get excited about it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Lex. Does anybody else want to speak in public comment?
Hi, good evening. My name is Christine Soto. I'm a resident of Palm Springs, born and raised as well. Hi, Lex. Hi, Dieter. We all went to high school together, Palm Springs High School. And I'm a local business owner. I own Dead or Alive Bar and Shop and have for the past 6 years. And I want to make, a vote of support for the mural project. I think it's a wonderful project. I'm part of the Biannual group, and I just I love where the direction it's going and very fervently support it. I'd also like to mention that my family, my great-grandfather was Filipino, and he immigrated to the US the turn of the century, and moved his family from the San Francisco area to Palm Springs in the 50s, late 40s actually. And I think the historical context of the Filipino immigration to the desert is important to capture. And I know that this project will do that. And when they moved here, they moved to the Veterans Track area. So thank you for your time. Thank you, commissioners. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Christine. Do we have any other public comments? So I know we did get a couple of emails, public comment for the project as well. So we can include those with the after meeting materials for their comments. Is there anyone else, Jay, that was interested in making a comment at the moment?
No, that's all I see.
Okay, great. So I guess we will move on to item E. So I just wanted to welcome everybody to this year's commission. And I want to leave a lot of time for our agenda. So I just will speak to you about a couple of things. I know a lot of the new commissioners are interested in doing community-related public arts projects, as am I. So it's really exciting to have this as the first project that comes before us for the year. So I'm looking at this as a really great jumping point to even the next 2 years of the commission, and getting a lot of things on our schedule to roll out through the next 2 years, basically. So this project and our arts maintenance project, as well as a 3-year program, and then that frees us up for a lot of interesting projects that we can continue to put on our plate. So we've had a couple of public comments about issues not necessarily relating to a piece of public art, but just maintenance issues and things with lighting and other, we always have a lot of issues with sprinklers and even a little bit about graffiti. So we in our maintenance meeting last week, we were kind of brainstorming at how we can be able to address issues with the public quickly and have them all go to maybe one source. So Jay had this fabulous idea, if we could ask for public arts to be added to the city app. So people would have a one-stop shop versus, finding someone on Facebook or seeing someone at the grocery store or sending emails and not knowing who to contact. So we're trying to figure out ways to streamline work for the commission so we can focus on the bigger picture and have these nitty items that have a tendency to not have a point of reference. To be able to create that point of reference so we get everybody communicating in the same way. So hopefully that's a really exciting thing on a note for me to be able to say, oh, if we could add public arts to the city app, so everything could be funneled through that if people have issues, or and then there's one-stop shopping for that. So I'm hoping we'll find out in the next month or so if that's possible. Jay might know some more tonight. So So that's one exciting thing beyond our arts maintenance and our presentation today. But I want to leave all the time for my time for the presentation. So let's move on to item F and hand over the reins of the Filipinx mural project to Mara and her group. So let us know who wants to present, or if you guys just want to toss it back and forth. And Jay said he would run your presentation for you.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, it would be great if Jay could pull up the presentation and could move it forward for us. And I'll sort of walk through it, what's in there, some of the main things that we developed. And then I hope we can have a few minutes for Adam, the artist, to also speak and respond to any questions. I should just mention that my name is Mara Gladstone. I am presenting this proposal on behalf of Bayanihan Desert, which is a Filipinx community action network that's whose members identify as Filipino American and are based in and around the Palm Springs area. So, and my role in this is to simply help support and move forward this project and support the artist in realizing this project. The title of our proposal is the Filipinx Community Mural Project. We're using the X as an identifier to be inclusive and intersectional, and to consider all peoples who might connect with and identify as Filipino or Filipino American. Next slide, please. So who are we? This is our logo, which is designed by the artist, Adam Alabuen. Who are we? We are a multi-generational Filipinx community action network comprised of diverse individuals who identify as Filipino American and are based in the Palm Springs region. We celebrate our heritage collectively, share news, promote our achievements, and identify and support underrepresented perspectives and issues, particularly those of concern to AAPI communities throughout the Coachella Valley. And I just want to mention to you, although our network is comprised of Filipinx identifying individuals, a lot of the issues that we're concerned with affect BIPOC communities and LGBTQ communities as well. Next slide, please.
Mira,
Yeah.
let me pause here. If we could have everyone mute themselves, we're getting some background noise if you're not muted right now. Thank you very much.
So these are just some examples of some Filipino-owned businesses in the community, some images from past events, Zoom events in the last year, networking, sort of service that we've done in the community for the last few years. Next slide, please. So what we would like to propose, and it's something that we as a group have been talking about for many years, but for various reasons, the timing just never seemed right. But we are now ready. We are proposing a mural celebrating Filipinx history, culture, and people of the Palm Springs region. Filipino Americans have played an enormous role in the social, cultural, and economic development of California, the Coachella Valley, and the Palm Springs region. And in fall 2021, the Palm Springs City Council issued a proclamation making October Filipino American Heritage Month and celebrating October 25th as Larry Itliong Way. I just wanted to point out, actually that proclamation has some really amazing historical points relating to Filipino Americans and their relationship to California. This mural would seek to look at that, but also to explore a little more in depth how Filipino Americans have had an impact on the Coachella Valley. At right is an example by the artist, a mural he did for the Filipino Community Center in the Excelsior District in San Francisco about 10 years ago. Next slide, please. What we'd like to propose is and recommend that the best place for such a mural would be in the Demuth Park neighborhood. We're the Manong generation. These are our male elders who tended to be Filipino farm workers, chefs, and hospitality professionals, established their homes and built multi-generational, multicultural communities in the early 20th century. Previously called the Veterans Tract neighborhood. And many of the people in that neighborhood were veterans of World War II. This included an enclave of Filipino Americans that expanded tremendously in the mid 20th century. Yeah, next slide. Please. Okay, so here's at the top left is an image of the proposed mural wall at the entrance. And so even though we explored options for facing the wall to be a street facing side, I think it's important to note that we've selected a wall where people, children, the community that is actually using the center walks by, so it greets them. So it's less about being like a presence to those in cars and more of a presence to the park users. At the right is a little bit more of the facade, and then at the bottom are some of the people who use the community center, the Filipino basketball league. Next slide, please. I mean, it might be best for Adam to talk about himself, and actually his full name is James Adam Labuan Garcia. He's also known as Ganyan in the art world. He is a Palm Springs native. He graduated from Palm Springs High School. He attended College of the Desert for a while. He went to San Francisco State University, where he was really active in the arts community there. And he created a number of murals in the San Francisco area, including as a lead artist on the Filipino community mural at San Francisco State University. And so his work is throughout, it's illustrated throughout. So you can see what I love about, side note, I was previously a curator at the museum. I also, at the Arts Museum, I also just love figurative painting, but it's pretty incredible. His painting style has so much energy and emotion and like almost a social realist kind of practice. What's also really great about Adam's work is that he's actually been working as a science illustrator for almost 10 years. So I think in this mural, he would be able to capture a lot of the flora and fauna that are specific to the desert, but also might have connections to Filipinos and Asian American communities. Next slide, please. Here's some examples of his work. You can see the more sciencey ones are examples of the science illustrations, which are pretty incredible. And but then you see how those things start mixing into some of the sample work and portraiture you see here. Next slide, please. So as part of this process, we're very aware that community murals can't just be done by a single person and they need input from their communities. So as part of this proposal, we wanted to share with you a little bit about the process. The idea is that first we would be gathering, the artists would be gathering research with support of Bayanihan Desert and our networks. We would like to, i.e. Lola and Lolo and our titas and titos and our elders and our friends and people in the community, but also researching histories that we've maybe heard about and want to know more about, flora and fauna, things like that. We want to create some community forums to gather input and archival images, and we would love to be able to potentially work with the Public Arts Commission to maybe put out a call for that. The idea being we should have between 1 and 3 opportunities for community input. But some of that might be invited input as well. The idea is that we would then be able to have a draft proposal, a mural proposal ready at some point this spring. We would share it with our community, gather final input, and then make a final proposal. If you can go to the next slide. Here are some Filipinx histories to be considered. The veterans, farm workers, the medical services community, religious organizations, community activists, business owners, we're everywhere, service organizations, civil servants, plants, nature, gardens, food cultures, dance and music, and other Filipinx legacies and families who we may not hear about or know about. Next slide, please. So this is a rough timeline. If we're able to begin moving forward on the project. We have already begun our preliminary meetings with artists, site visits, and just casual conversations with some people in the community who might support this project. At this point, we're doing the proposal to the Public Arts Commission. We want to continue our research and begin outreaching to our families and community groups. We would continue that research February, March, and April, do at least one community input session. And then as part of this process, while a painted mural seems like a very economical process and something that the artist is very familiar doing, we are considering researching painted, printed, or tile mural options for durability, longevity, and cost. So that's something that we would do in that period of time as well. And we'd be happy to work with the council to share our findings from that for the commission. Next slide, please. The idea being, we could either present the draft of the proposal to you sooner than that, but the final mural proposal would be presented to the Public Arts Commission in May or June. And at that point, we could move forward with production. And as we all know, the summer gets a bit hot. So the idea is that we would probably want to execute the mural in the fall. Although if there was funding to support maybe having like a studio for the artist, he could begin working on it in the summer. And then in the fall, while that's being executed, we would be developing programs and a publicity plan with the idea of really doing a dedication of the mural and a launch of some education and programs with community partners in spring 2023. And I think that's just my last slide. Yes, it is. So thank you very much. And I'd love if maybe Adam could say a few words about his practice and interest in doing the project.
That's great. Yeah, thank you, Adam. Go for it.
All right. Well, thanks for everyone being here tonight. And in regards to the project itself, I mean, I've been involved in projects like this before, and it's always been an honor for me. I'm born and raised in Palm Springs. I moved away, lived in the Bay Area for a bit, Hawaii, Japan for a little bit, in DC. And what's prevalent in these larger communities is public murals representing their communities, and how helpful it is to solidify communities in large, to learning about their histories. And I would just love to have this push through and help our community learn and relearn and share our histories with the larger community.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Do you guys have anyone else that wants to speak on the proposal?
No, but we'd be very happy to. We've kind of had several meetings in advance of this one, so Adam and I are happy to speak on behalf of Biannual Desert with any questions you might have.
Great. So I just wanted to say a couple things. What this project I think is so important for the city of Palm Springs is to continue our search and highlighting of diversity of the city. I think it's really important to celebrate what created Palm Springs, made Palm Springs, and continues to make Palm Springs thrive. And that's really celebrating the people who are dedicated to it here. So this project kind of hits all of those buttons. It's celebrating a desert community that's so important here. It gives the community input into a public arts project, and then near and dear to my heart is public programming on the arts and sharing that with the community. So it's there's so many ways to celebrate the public arts in this project. So it's on my end, it's really exciting. So I just want to open it up to everybody. And one thing, you mentioned a thing about Adam and having a studio. Maybe we think about something too, where Adam can have some kind of open studio days or something, like as a, maybe we could work with Parks and Recs on their summer program, and maybe there's some kind of an exchange studio space for maybe having some kind of open, like an open studio with some students prior to the mural. I think that could be really exciting as well.
Yeah, and we have a list of many ideas, in fact, but and that does include artist demonstrations and the opportunity to engage the youth in the community. But we felt like that's something that we should hold on before because there's so much kind of asked of the artist early on in terms of conceptualizing what the mural is going to be and sort of gathering all that input. But yes, Adam and Biannual Desert are super excited about the opportunity to educate our community about the histories here that we don't hear enough about. So, and the presence of Filipinos here today. We're everywhere.
Awesome. Oh, that's awesome. So, so who wants to start with any questions or comments? Gary.
I've got some questions. And this is, I guess, for Mara or Adam. Are we the first commission you've met with, or have you done anything with the Parks Commission? Because this is also part of their responsibilities. They're part of Demuth Park.
So we first wanted to present this to you, and then yes, we are certainly planning to connect with the Parks Commission and any other commissions you recommend. But yes, that is 100% on our agenda for this month and next month to make sure that we make those civic connections.
And Gary, I told Mara that you would be, you would help her shepherd it with the public.
Yeah, I guess my point with that, Mara, is that getting something in front of the Parks Commission and other commissions will delay your timeline, because things need to be put on their schedule in advance, and they only meet every month as well, and they can only vote on something every month in advance. So however many, this was a question for Jay, but would the Human Rights Commission need to be involved with this, or is this not?
I don't think so, unless you want them to be.
They could be, and in a sense they are. If you don't know Commissioner Ramaran, who's joined the meeting, we have a Human Rights Commissioner in the meeting.
Okay. So my point is, every commission you need to respect their timeline and their own individual commissions as well. And then, of course, you need to go through the people at the Demuth Community Center, and I guess Coach B manages it, and getting his approval, I guess.
Sure, I'd be super happy to do that. My children go to the Demuth Park Community Center. I use these facilities. A lot of our families do as well. We'd be happy to talk about that. I also believe some of our public commenters, maybe Dieter Crawford, serves on the Parks Commission as well. And so Biannual Desert has a lot of friends who do public service, but yes, we 100% will be presenting to the Public Arts Commission, but we are hoping that in this initial conversation, you might support the development of the idea of this mural. For if some reason the Demuth Park does not want it, that we can find another home for this important mural somewhere in Palm Springs.
And again, my experience working with the Parks Commission is they're very linear thinkers, and we need to show them exactly what it's going to look like, exactly the park, and exactly where it's going to be. It just isn't how they approach what they're doing. So we need to be as specific as possible, or the Arts Commission tends to be a little more free thinking. And the Parks.
Well, I am, pardon to interrupt, I am a museum and arts professional. I've worked in museums for 20 years. I currently oversee the installation of massive art projects in the Coachella Valley. And I am your point person to make sure that you have all the information that you need and that all the commissions need I'm the project manager of this, and I would be delighted to liaise with one or two of the commissioners to make sure everyone has the information they need to do this correctly, properly, so we're not scrambling at the last minute. And by way of background, I did also serve on the Public Arts Commission for 6.5 years, so I am aware of the city's process as well.
Yeah, and I think we're like the first stop for anything like this. And then if we kind of give our consensus, then it's kind of the next stop would be Parks and Recs versus putting the cart before the horse there. But I do think it would be good just to give them a presentation, not necessarily that they have to vote on anything, but just say, hey, this is coming down the path. We want to get you on board with this project. And I do think they would be open to that. Then, the finalizing of things will be down the road, but just to start that stream of conversation.
And then my other question is, I might have missed something. Is our commission funding this, or are you self-funding this in some way, Mara?
We are looking for the support of the City of Palm Springs and the Public Arts Commission to underwrite the cost of this project.
Okay.
So Russell, do you want to have a question?
Well, no question. I just want to mention my wholehearted support of this project. And I'm extremely confident that Mara will cross every T and dot every I in respect to this project. And I'm excited to see a community coming together to present a project like this. And I hope it will spur other communities to do the same thing. And they would certainly like us to discuss either in this meeting or when we receive the presentation for what the exact mural is going to be, our support through at least the permanent mural process fees, if not any more part of that, the amount of the budget. And if it's met with resistance through the Park and Rec or at Demuth Park, I would like us to get back behind the project and actively look for other locations in conjunction with them.
If I may just talk a little bit about Demuth Park, which wasn't presented in our presentation, but it is the largest public park in Palm Springs. And I think it's been a bit, with the exception of the dog shelter, it's been a bit neglected. And I think it is so widely used by so many people. There's so many sports teams. The Demuth Park Center is like really wonderful and is also a bit underutilized. And I'm very hopeful that putting this art there sort of shows how much the city cares about this community here. It's more of a working class community with generations that have lived on blocks. A lot of mixed families, many Filipinos live block to block, house to house across the street over here. And it's just, it's part of District 1. So, again, that's a district that was like sort of created to create representation. And we just really think it would be important to speak to the citizens in this community who have been a bit neglected in the cultural sense, especially given that it houses this like incredible park. So I just wanted to share that as a note. My kids really love going there. I think there's a very modest Gerald Park public art piece there. But there's a lot more that could be done there too. So we're hoping that this can be part of that, renewed interest in that park. So.
Yeah, we talked about it last week in our maintenance meeting because that piece 7 and 9s and 11s that's on our schedule to ask to update this year and to help rejuvenate, that in your mural we were talking about would help to rejuvenate that park. And it's a really important park. I wholeheartedly agree. So does anybody else have any questions?
Tracy, can I ask something?
Please.
Yeah, I think it's also, I want to just sort of underline or underscore what Tracy and Gary were saying about, as you're doing here, it's important to at least communicate and inform Parks and Rec regarding the process that you're going through, as opposed to even waiting till you have the mural. I would have liked to have seen the mural this evening, but I understand it's a very lengthy process. The question that I have is, I have a couple of questions actually, then a suggestion. Do you foresee this as being a mural that's going to be there beyond 5 years, or is there a certain lifespan that you're looking at for the mural? And who would be responsible for the maintenance of the mural?
So depending, this is where it sort of depends how the Public Arts Commission wants to support the project. Adam has worked on murals utilizing house paint that have lasted quite a long time, but they do require touch-ups. I do think, and this is the same in museum practice, that when you get a gift or an artwork that you plan for expenses to maintain them. So I would recommend, if the Arts Commission does move forward with supporting this project, that it, keep that in its budget, just like it maintains all of other artworks. But your question is one of the reasons why we're going to look into tile options. I think tile is something that a lot of mural artists have been doing lately because of its resilience to multiple kinds of weather conditions, the way it's able to keep colors and hues. That said, this particular wall, though it is south facing, it is sheltered, and that is one of the reasons why we thought it would be a good site for the mural. In addition, we can explore options for mounting the mural on the wall, since we'll have to do something like that anyway. But it's possible we can create a kind of armature that would allow it to be moved if needed. These are all things that we would want to explore, in that sort of 3 month this spring. Assuming we can, sort of move things forward, but it will take a little time to get quotes, because we're going to want to have a rough sense of what Adam's mural is going to look like before we can really decide what the best materials are to create it and see what the actual costs are. It can be very expensive with hand painted tile, but there may be digital printed options that are much more affordable, which is something that could be really cool too. Like maybe Adam can make a smaller size mural that can go somewhere, like maybe it enters the Public Arts Commission's collection, city collection, but then it lives on publicly and is always viewable as like a printed tile mural or printed on some kind of board. So these are all things that we have to look into and consider. And I think the artist is open to all of those different options as well.
2 other comments. First of all, I did notice that it was under some type of protective covering. I think that's important because we've had issues with just the weather here and the severe types of weather impacting murals. The one thing, because I love history, and the history that you were informing me about, I really enjoyed hearing. My question is, when someone is looking at the mural, and this may be for the artist to hear, when someone is looking at this mural, will they be able to read the history, or is there the possibility of a QR code to be included with the mural?
Yeah, it's definitely something we can explore. I mean, I would love to have some literature explaining what the narrative is of the mural, so people can walk up there and get some information
and understand what it is and the impact of the community and everything.
I think with everything that we do, as far as like educational workshops and whatnot, we can possibly include it on some type of web page, and then people can do more reading on that as well.
Thank you. That's it.
Cool.
One thing we talked about this afternoon is also using this project as a way of kind of testing new ways of doing murals here, right? So cost-wise, so that this project could entail that research into it, and then we could use that for other mural projects that will come up, or other times we're trying to deal with murals in the desert and talking about their longevity and maintenance. So does anyone else want to weigh in, have a comment?
I'll just add my comments in very quickly. I think this project has a lot going for it in terms of the potential for raising some community awareness and even building some community pride. And I know I'm getting really excited already about what it could eventually look like. And I'm expecting a very striking mural at the end of all of this. But I want to say I really appreciate the approach that you're taking in terms of collecting a lot of community input and planning for this. You had that list of all the cultural significant themes and ideas that you could incorporate this. And I think it's going to be really interesting and fun to see where you land on what the final image or images will be. So I'm excited to follow along with that process.
Yeah, echoing what you're saying, it's really great to see a project that's laid out over a period of time to build that whole project together instead of having, it come to us at the very end. So I think that's what makes this exciting as well, especially for the whole community. And then the meeting in October, when the city dedicated the month of October to the Filipino American community. If people are interested, look that meeting up on the city YouTube, because there was a really long presentation about it. It was a really great presentation. So I just put that out there for the public. So it's in the meeting notes.
It actually took place on November 1st
Oh,
or 2nd.
sorry.
So it's just in case you're looking in October and can't find it, it did take place a few days after the month concluded. So.
But it's supposed to be every October, right? The Filipino Heritage Month, or is it November? I'm sorry.
It's October.
Oh,
Sorry.
it's October.
But the meeting record is in November for City Council. So
Okay, great. Thank you. So
So,
do we
yeah, I was gonna say,
go
Mara,
for it?
Mara, I'm the liaison with the Parks Commission on behalf of the Public Arts Commission. So why don't you connect with me offline, and then we can coordinate how we get in front of the Parks Commission just to get this on their agenda and talk it through so that they know you're not coming to them, on the sly.
sounds perfect. Just we're available whenever the next meeting is. We'll be there.
Yeah, they were supposed to have their meeting on this past Monday. They generally are the third Monday of every month. But they did not have it, obviously, because of Martin Luther King Day. And I'm not sure about their agenda for their next meeting, if it's been set already, but we can find out.
Great. I'll introduce you guys tonight after the meeting via email. So do we have any other questions or comments? Thoughts?
If I may, and I'm sorry if this was covered already, but that council meeting that you referenced where they read the Filipino American Heritage Month proclamation and gave the presentation, that was November 4th, 2021.
Oh, thank you, Lauren.
And it's at the beginning of the meeting.
So Lauren, do you want to introduce yourself, since we had our meeting about this project in December, and maybe talk about how it came to Christy and how that happens for the commission?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Lauren Wolfer. I actually am part of Christy Holstage's office. My actual title is Council Fellow. When she was mayor of last year, she wanted to do a proclamation again for, recognizing October as Filipino American Heritage Month. So in working on that and communicating with Biannual Desert, this idea of doing a mural came up again. So we definitely wanted to see that move forward. Chair Merrigan was gracious enough to set up a meeting with Mara Gladstone and some other members of Biannual. So
Great, thank you so much. Any other, Gary, did you have another wave your hand comment? Oh. Anyone else? Any members of the public who wanted to speak? So I guess we could go to item F2, which is about this same project. And if you guys could stay on, Mara, and answer any questions, that would be great if anyone has any questions. So one of the things I had said when bringing a new project to the commission, I wanted people to, bring it as a presentation and talk about it, and have people be able to think about it before taking a vote on it. So we can vote on something tonight, but, we would put it on the agenda for next month, kind of an estimate of cost that we would like to ask for supporting this mural. But tonight I just wanted to kind of bring up, talk about sponsoring the mural fees, and then I kind of put this as a placeholder, artist fee, and whatever other sponsorship fees we would like to do and work in sponsoring this mural. So one thing which Mara knows because she was active on the mural subcommittee with the when she was a commissioner with the Public Arts Commission, is we sponsored a number of murals a year. We sponsored their fees. So for nonprofit groups or community groups that would come to us, they might not have a lot of funding. And one way that we helped them was sponsoring mural fees, since we felt that a lot of these murals were a really great benefit to the community. And Russell could correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if it's around $3,000, $2,500, $3,000 for the mural. And a couple of years ago, we said, oh, let's sponsor at least five people come to us in the year, we'll sponsor their mural fees. So we actually, since, we haven't through COVID, and Russell, you can correct me if I'm wrong with the George Floyd, but I think we paid for those fees. We haven't really had the need to come up with like a package again. So if we think about it, if people are interested in that, we could, kind of come up with an idea that we pay for something a year, or just do it as a onesie, twosie basis of people coming to us with murals. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, it would be great if we could sponsor this project. So part of what this project is, which I think is really important to the city manager and the council, is this kind of community-based project. And it's something that I talked to the city manager about, was that was one thing that I thought that I am really interested in, and that I thought the commission was very interested in, was doing more projects that we ask for community input, and really have the community be a helpful part of the process. And I think this is a great initial project that we could put to the city council as something that we really support. It kind of hits all of the bells and whistles of what we like to do. We like to, promote the community. We like to celebrate diversity. We want to promote local artists. We want to keep those, community ties are really important. Obviously we want to celebrate beautiful public art. And we have liked to do a lot of community programming in the past, which was super successful, which COVID totally threw out the window. So that's kind of getting us, this project can kind of get us back on the track that we were on pre-COVID. And I think it's a really great project to put forward to the city council over the next, month or so, is one of our, great visions of the Public Arts Commission for the next few years. So if we, we think of an artist fee, we think of this project as a way of doing research on new ways to integrate murals into the community. And we think of it as a learning experience for, with public programming, with local children, with however open studio, a number of public programming events in the next year. And then if we think of it as paying for, installation of the mural and then considering its maintenance. So, we can kind of talk numbers tonight. We have a rough budget if we want to talk about it, or I just want to throw it out to you guys. So what do you think? Anyone have a comment?
I think it's okay to discuss it. Absolutely.
So do you want to, Jay, do you want to put up this is a rough budget just for people to think about. And part of the idea behind this budget is that we would help. So the artist fee would be 2 payments. So we would actually, it was almost like an artist in residence. So we would help the artists through the whole research and outreach phase. So it's 2 payments on here. So that is the idea behind the artist research, and then whatever contract that's how it would be written up, right? With multiple deliverables. So we would be able to split the fee, which is really helpful, right? For local artists to be able to get this project off the road. And then we would also build into the budget our programming. So that would be pre-approved by the city council. So we wouldn't have to be have months and months of wait next year if we had to have every single expense we wanted to submit. So this would be able to actually help us free us up to be able to do some public programming, knowing that the funds were approved. And then so artist fee and the mural execution. So, and the mural application fee. So all told, it would probably be under 25,000 or under. So do you guys, we're not proposing this tonight. I just want to throw this out to you guys and get some feedback, and we can get some more tighter numbers a little bit on B and C, but I think this is a great project for, an amount of money that we can definitely afford, and that I think would be really worth the cost. So does anyone have any comment or questions?
I have a couple. I think from what I can tell from the other commissioners, we're all in agreement. This is a worthy project and a worthy message we want to embrace. I guess I'm sort of, I'm still very hesitant about a lot of problems we're facing with like projects in Palm Springs. And the main one which we're getting next to is maintenance. And we are just saddled with such astronomical maintenance numbers for existing projects. And I really think we need to, in any budget we approve going forward, we need to factor in a maintenance number, because we're just kicking the can down the road otherwise. And a lot of that obviously depends on where this mural will go, and what the maintenance will be. We know what we're experiencing with the James O. Jesse mural with the tiles. What are the tiles not only is a higher in manufacturing, but it's also in ultimate maintenance. And so that is a major concern I have, and it's not specific to this one, but I think we need to address it, and we're fiduciary irresponsible if we don't. I'm also questioning what can be done beyond the mural. And I think almost to what Matthew was saying, we need to do more to just, not just sticking a mural up and saying, okay, our work with the Public Arts Commission is done. Let's make this more of a program and more of an educational component to it. And that needs to be thought out and presented as well. But as I said, I like the idea. I think it's a good place. I think the community center is a wonderful place. My point in questioning it is, what happens if people who have responsibility for that don't really embrace it as much? I think we need to have a plan B. And as I said, I want to make sure that we are being financially responsible with this, and we're not leaving it to the commissioners 10 years down the road to take care of it.
Well, I think I completely agree with your maintenance issue, and I think here's an idea, and maybe this has been kind of a bugaboo with me over the past few years, always saying we need to add maintenance onto every contract. What if we start, so for this project, we would have to add a maintenance component, and then maybe, or actually every project we do, we say, okay, this is the amount, this is the cost of whatever this project, and we're going to devote this much money to maintenance. And it actually kind of comes off our budget every year, right? So we say, okay, we're going to devote 5% of this cost, or I don't know, 1% of the cost, whatever this researched item is. And we always have that in our maintenance budget, right? From now until whenever this mural, in it, however, whatever its existence is. So then we know from now on, okay, if we, put this sculpture on, I don't know, Tockwitz Canyon, and we're going to, cost $30,000, we're going to have a kitty for it that's in our actual maintenance budget every year, so that has, like, it's endowed, so we're paying for it. And then commissioners in the future will have all of that data, right? And they'll know, okay, this has been budgeted for this. And then it just is kind of, restricted funds that come off our budget every year that we know we use for, whatever maintenance projects. And maybe, we use less on one and more on another, but we always know that there's this specific amount of funding that can be used. Does that help, Gary?
Yeah, that was essentially what I was saying, is we need to factor in maintenance on this.
Yeah.
I think, it's not as simple as $22,000. It is $22,000 plus at least a 10-year maintenance budget. And I think that we need to vote on that and approve that before we approve the entirety of the project.
No, I think that's a great addition.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have a comment or question?
I can just say that I do agree with Gary, that I think, and I'm happy that he actually saw this here, because I think we do need to consistently include maintenance in all of our future projects. It's something that hasn't been done in the past from what I'm seeing. And I think that's something that is really important.
Yeah. And I've seen some of these numbers that you're talking about, Tracy, and the maintenance is higher than the original project.
I know. That's why we
that is, we are not being fiduciary responsible with that, and that's, shame on us for even considering something without a number on there. This is a question actually for Jay and maybe Mara, I'm not sure, but can we use public funds for something? I noticed that Mara mentioned potentially religious components to this mural. Can we use public art funds for religious messaging?
I believe if it's construed as part of the artwork, yes.
Okay.
We did fund the fund and help sponsor the mural that is on, is it St. John's? Is that the name of the Episcopal Church?
I think it's actually St. Paul's.
St. Paul's. Russell, do you remember the name of that mural?
I do not.
But it had a lot of
Bernard
religious.
Something is the artist, but no, I don't remember the name.
So that passed, and that did definitely have religious references on it, not just cultural ones, or religious references that are cultural. So that's the only example I can think of.
And then just like I kind of ask a question, correct me if I'm wrong, we do have a budget line item for maintenance in our budget?
I'm fairly certain we do have that.
It's a fungible item, though.
Yeah. But just to assure fellow commissioners that we do have public art, we do have money in the budget specified for maintenance.
Yes, but it's very fungible. It's just whatever people, it's not something, I don't think it's something completely thought out. Like our budget is fungible, like we can move, like if we don't have enough money for maintenance, we can move money into maintenance. That's what they always tell us. So it's kind of fungible. But the only item that we have an endowed maintenance for is the Kennedy sculpture. So when that was donated, it was donated with an endowed maintenance fund. Do we have any other questions? And this is just our initial outreach meeting. So we had one meeting in December, and then this is the initial outreach to us. So, and what's great about this is that it is the initial outreach, right? That we're not down the road where nothing is changeable or not fixable, or, all the decisions have been made, which is what's exciting about this project, is we're kind of going through this process all together. So makes it much more open to the public and, much more transparent. So I think that's really great. So anything else for our guests, or any other questions, comments? Okay. Hey, Jay, can you stop screen sharing now? Well, if we don't have any other comments, I really want to thank Mara and her group, and Edwin. Edwin, did you want to make a comment? You're from the Human Rights Commission. Adam, for coming. I'm really excited to see the process of your mural coming from, I have a big horticultural background.
Oh, awesome.
In the desert. So
that's great. I'd love to talk to you about that.
Yeah, we were throwing that back and forth. So I thought that whole idea of horticultural references is amazing. So yeah, totally reach out anytime.
Awesome.
Well, thank you guys. And thank you, Lauren, from Christie's office. Let her know we had a great talk about this project. So I guess we
want
will
to say hello quickly, if that's okay.
Oh, sure, go for it.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Public Arts Commission. I just like Jay said, I do serve on the Human Rights Commission, so I'm actually here not on that capacity. And it was great to see that Commissioner Crawford was here also from Parks and Rec. So there's this level of like, hey, you know what? We've got commissions working together, and I think that's one of the most exciting things about it too. I'm a product of Veterans Track, and I'm so proud of this project. I can't even say, it's beyond words, and I'm so grateful to Mara and Adam and the whole crude Bayanihan Desert. Just to give you a sense of what Bayanihan means as well, just so I think that could be the Tagalog word of the night. Bayanihan actually literally means the idea of building community, building country. Bayan meaning the word for the Tagalog word for country. But it actually comes from a social realist history as well. And I'm glad we're able to talk about Adam's work in the history of social realist painting and mural painting in particular. But the depictions of Bayanihan in so many older paintings from the Philippines and in the diaspora is the image of community members actually picking up a house on stilts and moving it to another part. So the idea again that community comes together to build the sense of identity also. As a lot of you may know too, Filipinos in the United States, or not just Filipinos because we've immigrated here, we're actually a colony of the United States from very much part of the first part of the 20th century, as everyone knows, a product of the Spanish-American conflict, which a lot of us call the Filipino-American War as well. So I'm so grateful that this is a project that would give such proper love and recognition to the generations that came before us, and even the name Veterans Tract has a history, and I'm glad that that is coming out in terms of the history of Palm Springs, because it gets very much overlooked in its relationship to the Philippine veterans that were first here, and a lot of them have passed away, including my grandfather. So like I thank you so much for the Public Arts Commission, and I appreciate this real talk about maintenance too, because I do come from a curatorial background too, and I know that the level of monies that is required to help maintain and preserve history and art it's a lot. And I know that it's always good to have that at the forefront of our conversation, because it allows for histories and legacies to continue, so that these histories can continue to be told to those who come after. So thank you so much, everyone.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad you came on to talk. So I really appreciate that. Well, thank you, everybody. It's really exciting. I'm glad we're at the beginning of starting this journey together. So I'm looking forward to more discussion and fleshing out of the project. And so we will talk to you guys soon. So thank you so much for your time and coming to propose this to us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mara. All right, so shall we move on to the public arts maintenance scope of work? So did everybody should have received the proposal for updating or creating a new contract, updating the contract for public arts maintenance. And we've met a number of times, which has been really great. So I really thank Barrett and Matthew for their input and steadfastness and work on this project. So we're proposing to do a 3-year contract. It could be 3 to 5 year contract, but at least a 3-year contract to free us up and free the vendor up of time having to update all of these projects and then have months go between contract renewal. So normally the city does a lot of 3 to 5 year contracts. It's kind of normal. So it takes a lot more time to do these just one year contracts. So it will save us time, it will save city staff time and the vendor time. And then we can have our maintenance issues dealt with in a timely manner. So we're proposing to get as much stuff done as possible over in the next year to fix things that have damage, and just as time goes by, it will be more and more costly to fix them. And we have the funds to do this, especially since we've kind of been restricted with spending a lot of money this year without having it approved. So we definitely have the funds to do this. And then keep maintaining pieces on an annual or biannual maintenance schedule. So as time goes by, our maintenance costs on items that are on the maintenance schedule will actually go down. So what should happen is that some of the pieces that we've been doing biannual maintenance on, well, as their the quality of the piece has improved with the maintenance. Some of the pieces that we are working on will be able to go on annual, and others will be able to go even maybe every 2 years. So so that is something, that's a good thing that will happen, which will end up saving us money in the end. And then this proposal puts on maintenance almost everything that we own. So we were missing we've been adding things to the maintenance over the past few years in chunks. So this schedule adds to the last chunk, which are pieces that were over in the Jackie Lee Houston Plaza. Those pieces never made it onto maintenance. So that is a group. And then the Our Hero at Palm Springs Library. And then we would add Whirlwind on to maintenance after it's restored. So so let me just quickly go through, and then I'll ask Barrett and Matthew to chime in. So item 1 is restoration pieces. So you also have the giant document from the Art Collective, but item 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 or item 1, 2, and 3, a conservator has already estimated the costs and come and given a budget for the repair. So it was a couple of years ago, so maybe it will go up a little bit, but on the estimate, I've put the high end of the estimate and not the low end. So on the big report that you guys have, it has the range, but just so we can get an estimated restoration cost, I went with the high end of every item. So for some reason, we had asked for, we didn't get a cost for repair for the Hunt Totem Pole. So I've guesstimated into this cost. I've tried to pad it enough for item 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 9s and 11s, totem, and the batter. Item 2 is the 4 Barony sculptures, and they're not they have a couple of issues, but it would be nice to group them as 4 and have them all taken care of at one time. So the Art Collective could cooperate with the artists on that, and then have all of those taken care of at one time. The Desert Reflections is actually the City Hall dog park gate and fence, and we can talk about that more if you explain that more. And then item 4 through 20 are pieces that we already have on our biannual maintenance. So the costs that you see are the costs that we paid this past year. So that is what we have been paying for up to now. So that's estimated at 16,500 for the year. And then item 21, those are the additional ones. So I guesstimated on those. And then each year we've had a contingency. It's been $5,000 and we haven't used all of it. So I just brought it down 1,000. So 16,000 for 3 years. So our subtotal for the first year would be 84,000. And then that would take care of restoring items, the items in item number one. And then year 2 would be our biannual maintenance, $22,000. And then year 3, another $22,000. So that would be the maintenance plus the contingency for both of those years. And then it would be a total of 128 for 3 years, which I think is really great because I thought it was going to be way more than that. So that's kind of my back of the envelope estimating, but if we can approve kind of a top line number, we could have the quotes come in on items that we still need quotes on and just fill them in. So, so Barrett and Matthew, do you want to add your comments and into this proposal?
Yeah, I'll just say that I think, following up on what Commissioner Armstrong said in the previous discussion, I think this is a major step in the right direction of making sure we are taking our maintenance responsibilities seriously and getting away from this sort of like loose budgeting that we've had of it in the past. And I was also really pleased to see where the numbers came in, because we do have funds to maintain the collection. If we direct them that way, we just have to make sure that we're prioritizing the maintenance and not just adding the collection without being conscious of the long-term effects. So thanks, Tracy, for leading us on this, and thank you, Matthew, for your input as well.
Just to add to that, I agree with everything you said. But I would like to add also that having seen the Charles Farrell statue and seeing that the estimated cost for restoration is 10,000, and looking at Whirlwind and seeing the estimate, and I've seen that statue also and see the estimated cost of 12,000. I would like to just have Charles Farrell reevaluated, because there's some huge damage on that as in comparison to the Whirlwind. So I'm not sure if these numbers will probably change a bit, I believe.
Yeah, so I think that if we can get to a scope, right, we could say in the scope, if I mean, I think the Farrell would appraise well enough to have it. The thing is, we don't have anything in our ordinance that says don't maintain pieces, right? Like there's no, like we built into these changes that we wanted to the ordinance that was kind of like, we have the ability to basically say, no, we don't want to spend this money on this because we don't think it's worth it. But we don't really, there isn't anything in there now except saying you have to maintain things. So we are going to ask next month for an appraisal on like a number, like 5 pieces of art, and Farrell is one of them. So we could write into the scope, like, unless something appraises, undervalue, hold off on this item, like still approve the cost, but then we don't have to spend the money, right? And we can determine with the art collective, we could say, okay, we want you to do, 19 through 31st, and then we can determine their scope, right, of when they do the work, or tell them which ones we'd like to have them do. And then if there's questions, right, and then we say, well, we're just gonna, we can change our mind and say we're not going to do Farrell, or we're going to hold off. But at least this gives us that that cushion to be able to start.
Yeah, and I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just
Yeah.
questioning the different cost in the two.
Yeah. And hopefully they won't be that. Yeah, they might go up a little bit because, you know, because there isn't, on some of these items, there isn't a local person to do them. They come out from, can't remember if the person was from Orange County or LA. So.
I have three points, and I agree, and I'm glad to see that there is a sort of a major push and consensus in identifying work that needs to be taken care of. And so I agree, you know, from a global perspective, this is great. This amount of money seems fine to me. Some of the numbers, I think, you know, for example, you have point 2 is the 4 Barony sculptures estimation at $10,000 for the 4 of them. But then down below, you have a couple of them, maintenance is $275. You know, number 8 and 9. So
Yeah, that's the cost that they're already on for biannual cleaning.
and by biannual, you're saying you mean it by twice a year, not every 2 years, correct?
Yes.
Biannual is twice a year.
Yes.
Okay, so all these things are being repaired and cleaned twice a year.
Yes.
So that would be my point. And then I think we need to also strongly look at some of these pieces that need to be recited, as you said, like the Charles Farrell due to sprinkler damage, whether they need to be put on a pedestal or landscaping around. And I know that's sort of maintenance, but it's, again, it's sort of throwing away money if the sprinkler's still going to be there hitting the guy after we spent $10,000 to repair them, and there's nothing been done on that.
Yeah, so exactly. So take Whirlwind as an example. So that's why it's been on the back burner, because it hasn't been worth fixing if the sprinkler just keeps hitting it. So Stacy said they were actually be able to reroute the sprinklers in that area and have it not be an issue ever again.
Okay.
So that one is, so that one's worth fixing now. And we just have to, you know, get back with her. And then the Farrell, we have talked to maintenance about it, and I talked to the art collective about it. And one idea that I floated was this pebble moat idea, and then we talked about it more with Stacy, Matthew, and I. So yeah, we wouldn't. We would have to deal with the sprinkler issue before we restore it. Like if there's an issue with something, we're not going to restore it until that issue is fixed. So they thought the pebble, you know, a pebble moat might be a good way of helping fix that, or you know, we can get more like advice on it once it goes out to the contract too. But
and then the other one is the sort of the big elephant in the room, and we don't know if we're getting our Measure J for the Rainmaker in Francis Stevens. I know the Measure J meeting's tomorrow, but I think we should assume we're not getting it. We need,
and that we're not responsible for paying maintenance on.
I'm sorry?
We're actually not responsible for it. And I think, who knows why? Like, we're also not responsible for the dog park, but I think because probably the maintenance costs are so high. But the reason I put the dog park on there is in talking to Stacy about it, you know, the dog park piece of art is the entire fence around the whole park.
So why are we responsible for it then?
We're actually not, for some reason, but I talked to her, I said, well, what if we could just get you some funds, because they don't really have the money, to help with the gate, because they reached out to the artist a number of times and the artist is not responsive, and they don't really have the contacts to kind of have someone come in and fix like the artistic welding that needs to be done. And that's something that Art Collective could help. So if we didn't want, if we said, oh, okay, I'm not comfortable with us paying for anything for the dog park, we could at least get an estimate for the maintenance department and give it to them. So, you know, I'm kind of throwing that at you guys, like, oh, we don't have to spend maintenance money on that piece of art for some reason. But if we did, that could probably, they have a lot of issues there with the gate, and it's really heavy, and it's like a piece of art. So it's not like, you know, a normal dog park where it's just, you know, kind of a metal gate that opens in and out. That's simple. Something more that they have to take care of. So that's throwing that out there.
Just, can I add something to that?
Yeah.
I realized that I completed the application for the Rainmaker, and I agree. I don't think we're responsible for that. We haven't been responsible for that. So when the money became available, we applied for it just to see if we could assist with it. If we don't get it, we're not responsible. It's about maintenance. It falls in the city, because that's historically who has taken care of it. I have concerns, and I think this is where Gary is coming from. If not, Gary, you know, you can correct me, of taking on more responsibilities of pieces that we were not initially consulted on historically or asked for our advice on. I don't know if any of you have been to the dog park. I've been there. That gate, the entire gate is not designed well for an animal park.
I asked her if they could move the gate. Like, why don't you just move the gate and have it just be a decorative object? Just put another gate there. It is a piece of public art. And people think we're responsible for it, just like they think we're responsible for Rainmaker. So if we just provide them advice, or if we don't, so it's totally up to you guys, like how comfortable you feel. Like, oh, does that open the window, open the door to then, you know, other things on our budget or not?
I'm fine with getting an estimate, and then I think from there we make a decision.
Okay.
And I think we can decide then we can forward that to Parks and Rec or whoever is, you know, we need to forward that to. I'm fine with getting a you know, an estimate for it.
And it could be like $20,000, and then we're like, okay, well, you know, we're out, peace out. Or it could be $500. So any other questions? Comments? Do people think the prices look, does it look like a good budget, Russell?
Well, yeah, so the point of the committee is to do the contract for the 3 years at 128,000.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, I think it's money we need to spend because it is a public arts collection and it is our responsibility to maintain it. And certainly working with the art collective, if there's a piece of art that is deemed not worthy of the restoration or repair, they will certainly come to us and we can decide at that time what to do about it. So looking at this, I would certainly be willing to make the motion to approve this budget when you consider that over 3 years, it's what, like 42,000, 46,000 a year, which is basically nothing to spend on maintenance when you consider the scope of our collection. So would you like a motion to approve this?
I would love it.
I would like.
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So this is a 128,000 spent over 3 years and paid for over 3 years, or is it all paid for in 1 year?
I think she was billing like every 6 months. So, or they might bill like, well, it's paid over 3 years, right? Okay. Like year 2 and year 3. And then year 1, I don't know how they would bill it. Like they might bill it per item. or what she kind of did last year was bill every 6 months. So she billed for a certain number of items that they had completed, and then, and that's how they billed.
Okay, so I'm just thinking in terms of budgetary, do we factor in $45,000 for every year? Or do we factor in the 84,000, as you said, estimated subtotal for year one?
I would do the 80, I would think we would do the 88,000.
But yeah, because we're doing the catch up on repairs that haven't been done. So it's important to do the 84 in the first year and then 22 and 22. So did I make the motion?
Yes.
Oh, you made the motion.
Thank you.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And do we have any comments on this before voting? Then can we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Oh, I'm so excited. Woo! This is such a geeky thing to be excited about, but it's like part of what we're really supposed to be doing. Okay, cool. So on to the next item. So Russell, I do have an update on the Christopher Myers as well. Christopher Myers.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, aren't we on updates and reports, item 4?
Yes, but I just want to let you know that.
So
So we're on item 4, Parks and Recs. Gary.
Nothing to report. They did not have their meeting. I reported since their last meeting. The meeting was supposed to be on Martin Luther King Day.
Okay, great. And then just to let you know, I had told Mara and Christie's Holstage's fellow when we had that meeting, they know they have to, that I explained the whole issue, thing with Parks and Recs and our new relationship, and they are, willing and able to make sure that everything is cool with that. And told them that you are their liaison with that. Thank you, Gary. Measure J, and so that's Matthew and his Main Street group that he's a part of now.
Okay, I met with Main Street Palm Springs this week actually, and I updated them on 3 things that the commission has been doing. One was working with the Art Collective. I don't need to explain all of this stuff to you because you all know, but one was working with the Art Collective and just explaining that we're in the process of, at that point, referring various pieces of our collection to the commission to be restored, to be taken care of. The second thing I spoke to them about was Rainmaker. I said we completed the application form for that. We're waiting to hear. In the interim, I did get a call from the artist, David, and he was getting calls from several people that he know in the community wondering why it wasn't turned on. So he said at that point he was going to call or make a phone call to find out why it wasn't working at this point. I had explained to him that it was flooded, that it's been drained, it's been dried, and that's the update that I gave him. But that was, I think, on Saturday that we spoke, because he was texting me and then he just called me. The other thing that I spoke to them, I didn't mention that to them though. The other thing that I spoke to them about was the benches downtown. I put a call into a Desert Arc, what's a firm that's called the Desert Arc Janitorial Company. They had mentioned that they have a low pressure hose And I'm trying to meet with them downtown. I said I would tell Joy about that, who's in charge of the Main Street Palm Springs, to let her know what we're doing and what our location is if she wants to come over. She said at the time the bench in front of her place is great because she maintains it. There's a specific area of Palm Canyon Drive that seems to have more issues, and that's around the 200 block. I've noticed around La Plaza, that's where, and I think that's the 200 block, that's where most of the issues go, but there's a lot of homeless there too. I don't want to blame it on them, but there seems to be a heavy population of homeless in that area. And there was a lot of benches in that area too, as opposed to where the design section is of Palm Canyon Drive. And that's what I informed them about. The one thing I did find out about, I had sent this text to, I think, a few people on the commission. There's going to be a neighborhood picnic sponsored by One Palm Springs on Saturday, March 19th, 2022. And I think I know Barrett is interested in getting more involved in the community, or getting the community more involved. I think it would be really wonderful if we had representation there. You can have a booth. If we could have the poster of the benches or some information about what we've done, what we are doing, I think it'd be great to have some community support there, or representation. That's it.
I think that's a great idea. And if the commissioners are interested in that, I haven't been to that. Well, I don't know. I guess there wasn't one last year. I haven't been to that in a few years. But the contact would be Denise Goolsby. I know that Shonda had like a table at a couple of things. So I don't know, she may have materials. And I'm sure we could scrounge up. I have some buttons Anne gave me at the tot unveiling. So I'm sure we could scrounge up some things. I know we don't have like a actual booth, but we could ask Denise if they have them, right? Maybe we could just glom on to somebody.
I think you can. I know there's a donation of some sort. I have to read it again, and they may provide you a booth. I'm not sure about that. I would need to look at the information again.
Yeah, are other commissioners interested in doing that, helping man it, or? I don't think it's the whole day. It's like a lunch, morning and lunch.
Yeah, I had, let me see.
I think it's over by like 2 or something.
It's only a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested in that, and thanks, Matthew, for bringing it to our attention. My first thought was it'd be a good sort of networking opportunity to talk to the associations about the grant program that we want to revitalize. But I was wondering about tabling, and if we had the materials and just stuff you need for that. Would we want to get like a tablecloth with our logo on it, or any kind of like signs that we could repurpose if we're thinking we're going to do tabling?
Let me ask Anne, actually, we had these banners, these pop-up banners that we used at the museum. And I think if they still exist, I know one of them broke, she has it. But I guess whatever cost we wanted, we'd have to get on our agenda, and maybe they would, since it's a city thing, they would just let us take it out of our budget or whatever. So we could just put it on the agenda for February.
And it's 11 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Yeah, it's really super short. Is it like at Ruth Hardy again?
Hold on just for a second. Ruth Hardy Park, absolutely.
Yeah, I think if people are interested in helping, I think we should do it. I think it's a great idea.
Just quickly, 2 comments. As far as the picnic goes, we do have our pop-up canopies. I think we have 2 of them, so they could be used. And then Matthew, when it comes time to meet with the cleaning people.
I think those were Anne's, so we could I don't think they're ours, but we could ask her. I'm sure she'd lend them to
Yeah.
us.
They have them built. And with Matthew, when you meet with the cleaning people for the benches, please include Tyson. Is he
Okay.
expert on our benches? And because he's been doing the cleaning, so if we find a service that can clean them well within his recommendations, I would much rather him doing the artwork part of it and not the cleaning.
Yeah.
Okay, also too, I will mention, thank you for bringing that up, Russell, because Joy had mentioned that she thought someone was doing that. And I had said, no, my understanding is that Tyson is in charge of, if there's any damage to the actual artwork, he goes and repairs it and redoes the artwork.
No, actually, we added cleaning to his responsibility, and in the month of December, he went through and cleaned practically every bench downtown.
Okay. Did he feel comfortable with that?
I was getting paid for it, but he would rather just do the art part of it because he's a very busy artist. So
Yeah.
cleaning should be a cleaning company.
I guess the reason I asked that is because of just the sanitation issues with some of the benches.
Yeah, that's not a concern to him.
Okay.
And Russell, when we talked to Jay about the app, we asked about having bench maintenance as one of the things people could reach out on. Okay, cool. Shonda isn't here. James Jesse Wall Engineering Report. So the
Really quickly, sorry, I wasn't. Matthew, are you gonna be the point person on the neighborhood association event?
I'm willing to work with you.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we can do it together. We just decide who wants to do what. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And if you guys just like write up, what you'd like to do put some costs on it, then we can put it on the agenda for February. Awesome. And Denise Goolsby is that, and Barrett, you said you work with her at the Desert Sun, so. And she's so helpful. So if we ask her for, any excess stuff, if we can't get things approved in time, I'm sure she'd give them to us if she has anything. Okay, so James Jesse Wall Engineering Report. So the vendor has their PO, and Russell reached out and I reached out. So I got that they weren't back until Friday, but Russell, you might have more information.
Just with being in touch with the firm, we hope to have the engineering report within the next 2 weeks. Just right now, all engineer firms are extremely busy. So we're in the loop, but we should have the report in a couple of weeks. So I'll follow up with them.
Great. And then the last item, which kind of relates to maintenance and also not maintenance, is, and it relates to this app. So you guys got a public comment on Jungle Red on the lights. So we had we talked about this in our subcommittee about things not related to public art and how much we want to be responsible for. And what should be kind of city maintenance responsibility and not actual commissioner's responsibility. So I wanted to throw this out to everybody because as our public art gets older, we don't know the story. Like, we'll reach out to this gentleman and I'm sure he can give the whole story behind the piece, but we don't necessarily know what was promised in the past and what was installed with art. And do we want to be responsible for lighting and bulbs burning out and, things like that distract us from what we want to accomplish, which are bigger ideas and items. and not have the commission bogged down in this minutia, and actually have this as like a city maintenance issue. So, because if we start, pulling up lights and replacing lights, it's just going to set a precedent on other projects that maybe are things that we shouldn't be responsible for. But if we have this app or have some kind of system where we can funnel these requests, like in a timely, organized manner, then we could have the city maintenance take care of these items. Because it seems to me like something in a median, the lighting should be the city's maintenance issue. But I wanted to ask you guys what you all thought of that idea of us maintaining actual art, but not lighting, etc.
I agree with you 100%. I did not see this public comment, so I'm not sure what it is.
Oh, maybe it's not the one.
But it's not important. But it just, lighting, once it's installed, it's city maintenance.
So any other comments or consensus on that?
I agree. We did our job.
Yeah, well, I just think we need to streamline so we can get other more exciting things done. So thank you, guys. So that kind of because I know it's going to come down the road on other items, so that's kind of a good consensus. And then, so the taming horse banner replacement. I talked to Mara, and actually the company that installed the banners has the banners, or installed the statue and the banners has the banners. So they could go and replace them. And we just need to let them know we want them to go and replace them. So Jay, can we just do that? They have the banners and they were originally contracted to go do that. It might cost us a little bit of money, or it might cost us no money.
Yeah, if you want to send me the information for that company, I'm happy to track it down and see what they have terms, or if they would just come out and do it. Sounds like it would have been set up already, though, if they have the banners.
Yeah, I think they could come out and do them like next week or this week. Like,
okay.
Mara already reached out to them, so so that's very cool. And then, so did you have any more info on the app idea, Jay?
No updates yet on the app idea. And, I don't know how well it works in terms of the public reporting issues, say on homelessness or graffiti or any of the other ways the app is used. I have heard from some of the departments that received the request, and I get the impression they are addressed. So, that process you talk about, Chair, of, having facilities manage it, we would just want to make sure they understand that that's coming. So, to be fair to them.
No
I have
problem.
a question.
Yes.
Because I like the app idea. However, that might not be private as far as people communicating that something's wrong. Other people can see that when they open the app up. I guess my question is, do we have an email address? Could we establish an email address for the public arts to specifically report damage to artworks?
We have an email address, but then it means we have to. I really love the idea of the app, because then it's like on the city realm, and no matter who's on the commission, it goes into the actual city, work product, versus commissioners having to check an email and make sure they check it and get back to people. Like, it's like the public gets instant gratification that they sent the message to the city. But yeah, it could be, if it's not possible, we could, make sure people email it's just been so haphazard, right? Like people tell you on the phone, or people tell you at the supermarket, or they tell you on Facebook. And just to like streamline our communication strategy, I think that's why I think it would be helpful. So it would be one place, because a lot of people won't email necessarily, right? Like, so we get all maintenance issues reported to an app, a public arts maintenance app. But when you look on there, it's not private. You see everybody else's requests. Matthew?
Yeah, I have one other question, but it's not about this. And then,
But when you look on the app, it's all public.
yeah, no, I saw that. Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
So you see whatever other people mentioned as a maintenance issue. It's weird.
That was my concern, that other people would, they can write certain comments that we may not want on there.
Maybe if they think it's a good idea to put us on the app, maybe we could say, hey, can you make it private so it just goes to whatever person.
We are the Palm Springs Public Art Commission, so
Yeah.
everything should be public. Somebody wants to say something, just be careful what you say.
And then people could say, yeah, that bench is really dirty. I see that bench too.
We'll clean it. All right. All right. Can we move along? We're kind of like on 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yes. So so no other updates, Jay, on that other stuff?
I
you
speak with the city clerk about an intern, and he let me know that commissions do not have the employees paid or unpaid. So that was a no on the intern.
Okay, great.
So
Good to know. Okay, great. And then you had just mentioned to me about the update on the ordinance.
right. That would be the good news is we did get an attorney assigned to work on public arts issues. So as these questions come up, we will have somebody to go to for the contracts we do. And what they're looking for is to make sure we include the visual arts rights information, but they can also help out with ordinance information, such as modifications to the municipal code in regards to public arts. So we have someone to work with on that. So, but I don't think they're going to get to it until March for getting it onto the agenda for city council to review and consider. So.
Yay, but that's really good news, I think. So I thank you for that. So does anyone have any other comments or questions?
Madam Chair, while we're talking about ordinances,
Yes.
we had agreed in our December meeting that the mural ordinance would be in our January 19th meeting. And you requested a couple of commissioners work on the revisions and have it ready for the presentation. And a couple of commissioners did do that. So can the mural ordinance be on the February meeting?
Yes, and I apologize for that. So yes, so that's very exciting. So thank you.
Perfect.
So any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I'm wondering, with Madeleine and no longer working under us on a contract, can we discuss how to transition now into another approach to the website, the marketing? I know Gary and I have had some meetings and are really interested and excited to get to work on some of that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So is that something you want to do at the next meeting, or?
The way I was sort of envisioning it is we might add that to the updates and reports every month.
Okay, that's great. Cool.
But so far we haven't had any means to get much work done.
Okay. Well, that's great. And you can also think of a different way of doing the contract too, that's not social media, right? So if you want to propose that. Okay, cool. So any other comments, commissioner comments?
I just have one last question, and that's it. It's very quick. When we met in our committee meeting, we just it was mentioned, Jay had mentioned, and he shared that with us that he had received an email regarding Rainmaker, and we discussed if a commissioner should call the person for a more personal situation. Jay actually explained the situation to him very well. My question is, should I call him, or was that decided, or where did we leave it at?
I think it's up to you. I thought Jay's email was great too, but if you want to reach out and establish that communication, that's great as well.
I would recommend you contact him. He seems hungry for even more information, Commissioner Lesniak, that I'm sure you could provide. So
Jay, would you be able to email me or his contact information if you have it?
all I have is his phone number, his email, but I'll see if he had his phone number anywhere on there.
Okay, thank you.
I just have, I'm confused though, because 20 minutes ago, we all said that the fountain was the responsibility of the maintenance crew, not the Arts Commission anymore. And I think we need to be very clear with the delineation on this. Is this either a public arts initiative or is it a maintenance initiative?
Yeah, I think meaning reach out to him is just kind of to give him that knowledge maybe, but I think because it's a piece of public art, like people will continually ask us questions and then we have to kind of answer them that, you know, we understand the issue, you know, we really want the fountain on, you know, in a way, it's kind of gets to the level of let's get the city council. Like if we don't get the Measure J money, we should ask the city council to just get it fixed and put all the public pressure on that.
Yeah, I think it's okay and fair to say that it's a concern of the Arts Commission. And if it weren't such a financial burden, you know, we would take care of it, but it's not something we have the budget for. So we're looking for other ways to address it.
And also too, if I speak to him or when I speak to him, I would definitely explain to him that it's never been a maintenance responsibility of the Arts Commission. It's always been a city responsibility. Only because of Measure J funding was made available did we pursue that option. So it's really in the city's hands. And I don't,
we could maybe put on the agenda something like this, right? Like we would like to ask the city, you know, send them the Measure J proposal and say, hey, if this doesn't get Measure J, you know, we get so many calls about this fountain, we want the city to take responsibility for it and get it fixed. So we could do that, right? And push it as, you know, this is how we feel about it. We could put that on the agenda and add these public comments to it and send it to the council. Do you guys think that that's, you know, I think that could be a good idea. So people don't think we're just ignoring them as well. Because it's the most like commented on thing. I mean, people, you know, I get it verbally, but people talk about it constantly, like either how much they like the sculpture or why isn't it on? Because the city does used to, we found out at our meeting with Stacy that they turn the fountain off continually for events in the parks. Like whenever there's something happening there, they turn the fountain off. And the fountain is like a pool, so obviously that has helped, you know, not helped maintenance issues be an issue, right? Like you don't really empty your pool in the desert. Or you don't really, you know, you try not to empty a pool because then, you know, you can get cracks, et cetera, et cetera. So, so they turned that fountain off a lot and they probably hadn't planned on that, right, when they originally designed it.
This is a bigger discussion, but I just think we need to be clear with the delineations of what our areas of responsibility are. So we're just not called in to be reactive and we can be more proactive.
I agree with that totally.
As do I. Are we ready for a motion to adjourn?
Sure.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Public Arts Commission to our regular meeting on February 16th, 2022 at 5:30 via teleconference.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, very much.
Aye and
Thank you
bye.
so much.
Good night, everyone. Thanks.
Thank
Have
you.
a good
Bye-bye.
week. Bye.